Hi all, welcome back to Enchanting English. Today we are going to see a very important topic, grammar structure, that is direct and indirect speech, or else we call indirect speech as reported speech. Come, let's learn how to do conversion from direct speech into indirect speech. So this is what we are going to do today, reported speech. Reported speech, in other words, is indirect speech. Now, when you narrate spoken words, you have two ways of narrating spoken words. One is direct form, the other one is indirect form. Now look at the example I have given here for you. The example is this: Tina said, "I like sweets." So I have narrated the spoken words of Tina here. Who is the speaker here? Tina is the speaker. And what did she say? "I like sweets." I have used the exact words spoken by Tina, and this is example for direct speech. Here I have made use of the same words spoken by Tina. This is example for direct speech, and now the same thing can be conveyed without using the actual words of the speaker. I can also say the same thing can be conveyed like this: Tina said that she liked sweets. What am I doing here? I am conveying what Tina said. But now here I didn't make use of the same words, the same utterance that Tina used. I have made some changes. This is example for indirect speech or reported speech. So what is it? This is indirect speech. Indirect speech, or you can call it as reported speech. Okay, right. Now this particular exercise is very important from the examination point of view, and to convert direct speech into indirect speech, you must follow certain rules. This is what we are going to learn today. So now listen, what are the changes that you have to focus on when you change direct speech into indirect speech? The first thing that you have to remember is there is a tense change. Remember, when your reporting verb is in past tense, your tense changes according to the tense given to you. Okay. So here I have a table for you to understand it very clearly. Look at this direct and indirect speech. How do you change the tense forms? The very first one, simple present tense. Indirect speech, when you get simple present tense, it will change to simple past tense and indirect speech. So for that I have given you an example. Let us consider the verb write or writes. See, how does the verb write appear in simple present tense form? Without S or with S. Okay, write or writes. So you change that into past, simple past tense form, that is W-R-O-T, wrote. Okay, right. Now look at the second tense form, present continuous tense. Present continuous tense, you know that it's an ing form. So how does your tense, your verb look like? S, am or are, then your ing form, is, am, are writing, right? How do you change that into indirect speech? It becomes past continuous tense. So what happens here? Was or were writing. The past tense form of is and am is was, past tense form of are is were. So you get were writing. Now coming to the third tense form, that is present perfect tense. Present perfect tense, how does your verb look like? Has or have written. It always takes past participle form, you know that, right? So has and have written, it becomes past perfect tense, that is had written. Okay, had written. Past perfect tense form, had plus past participle. So these are the changes in present tense. Okay, now you have, similarly you have changes regarding past tense. In case you are given simple past tense, similarly you have changes in the indirect speech. It doesn't become present tense in indirect speech. There are some changes. So I'll move on to that now. Now remember, I told you all present tense forms become past tense form. Now look at this. Here in direct speech you get past tense form. So what change do you do? You cannot make it again present tense. So what are the changes that you have to do? I have simple past tense here. Simple past tense, if you take the same verb write, what is its form? W-R-O-T-E, wrote, in simple past tense. So what is the change? You can either retain the same verb or you can change it into past perfect tense. So wrote will become either wrote itself or had written, past perfect tense. And then you have past continuous tense. Past continuous tense, how does a verb look like? See here, was, were and ing form. You have was writing or were writing, right? And then in past, what change do you get here? It becomes past perfect continuous tense. So how do you make past perfect continuous tense? Had been writing. So remember, past continuous tense becomes past perfect continuous tense. So remember this example. Then you have past perfect tense. How does a verb look like? Had written, had plus past participle. Here there is no change, it remains the same, so you get had written itself. Okay, so past perfect tense, there is no change, you get the same verb in indirect speech or reported speech itself. So I hope this is clear. Now in case you get future tense, you may ask me what to do. Future tense, you know that normally we make it using will. Right, will, write. So will become would. So remember, you have to follow the form rule, like when you get modal auxiliaries, you have the present forms and past forms. So can becomes could, will becomes would, shall becomes should, may becomes might. So that rule, I think you know it. So you can follow that rule. Okay. Now children, we saw how tenses are to be changed. The second change that you have to know is this. You have to change the adverbs of time and place. Okay, so I have an example. I have a table for you here to understand it very clearly. Look at these words. These words either refer to adverb of place or time. It shows either place or time. Okay, so when you get these words, remember, when you change into indirect speech, you have to change accordingly. Okay, so the first word, this, indirect speech becomes that. Then these becomes those, then here becomes there, then ago becomes before, then today, that day, today becomes that day, then yesterday, yesterday you have two options here, you can either write the previous day or the day before, okay, then you have tomorrow, tomorrow becomes the next day or the day after. Okay, in case you get the next day in direct speech, what will you do? The next day will not become tomorrow in indirect speech, okay? The next day becomes the following day, okay? Likewise, I can add some more words. I can also give you like last year. Last year, in case I give you last year, what will you write? The same rule, the previous year. Last week, the previous week. Last month, the previous month, okay? Then in case you get here, tomorrow, the next day is there, right? You get next month, you will write the following month. Next week, the following week, okay? So this day, you can replace it with the day or month or year, etc. So the same rule is applied for all, okay? So these are regarding adverbs of place and time. So remember, when you learn all these, you can very easily transform direct speech into indirect speech. Now, the next change that you have to do is regarding pronouns, okay? So remember, when you get pronouns in the sentence in direct speech, you have to change it accordingly. You don't get first person or second person in indirect speech, provided your speaker is not a first person, okay? Right? Only if your speaker is first person, it will remain the same in first person, or else there is a change. So look at what I have given for you here. Change in pronoun. First person becomes third person. For example, I and we. I first person singular, we first person plural, okay? I becomes he or she, depending on the speaker. If the speaker is a male, you use he. If the speaker is female, you use she, okay? If it is plural form, we use they, plural form. And then second person, it becomes third person, okay? So second person, you know that it's you. It is used for subject and as well as object, okay? So if it is used for subject, we use he or she, and if it is used as object, we use him or her, okay? Then the third pronoun that you can get is third person pronoun. It will remain the same. There is no change in it because your speaker is going to be in third person, so there is no change in it, okay? Now children, this particular exercise, changing direct speech into indirect speech, seems to be a little difficult for students. But if you understand the rules regarding conversion, it becomes quite easy. Remember, we have 4 different kinds of sentences in English. You know that you have statement or declarative sentence, you have interrogative sentence meaning questions, and then you have imperative sentences, sentence that convey order, request, command, etc. Then you have exclamatory sentences, okay? And for all these 4 sentences, we follow different rules, okay? So what you have to learn is how to change a statement, how to change a question, how to change a imperative sentence, and how to change exclamatory sentence. So now, right now, you are going to learn how to change a statement into indirect speech, okay? So I have written a few statements for you. Let's see how we can change it into indirect speech. Now I have used these sentences are all examples for direct speech. You can understand that I have written use inverted commas here, quotation marks, and that shows you that this is in direct speech. I have used the actual words of the speaker. So sentence number 1, Tina is a speaker, and I have used the same word spoken by Tina. How will you change this into indirect speech? So let me tell you, first of all, for combining, when you look at it, you have 2 parts. Tina said, and then what Tina said is given within inverted commas, okay? So in that indirect speech, what do? You have to combine it, so you need a connective. The connective that we use to combine is that, okay? So how do you write? Tina said that, okay? So what is this known as? This is a connective, okay? Yeah, using that to connect the 2 parts of the sentence. So that. Tina said that, and now you have to go with the next part. Okay, let us look at the subject here. I is a pronoun, and I told you in the rules that we don't use first person because your speaker is Tina. You are narrating or expressing the words of Tina. Okay, so this I refers to Tina. So what pronoun will you use? She. Okay, right. Now next thing that you have to focus is this. Look at the verb. This is a verb. Am playing. What tense is that? This is present continuous tense. Present continuous tense. You have an ing form here, right? So what do you do in present continuous tense? You have to change this into past continuous tense. I hope you remember. I gave you a long list of change in tense forms, right? So we write past continuous tense. How do you change this into past continuous tense? What is the past tense form of am? It is was. And here we use playing, the same thing, past continuous tense. So we say Tina said that she was playing. Now your object, and now comes the next word, now. Now it shows time. So remember the clue words I gave you. Now becomes then. Okay, right. So she was playing chess then. Now becomes then. Okay, right. So you have converted now direct speech into indirect speech. So remember all the changes that you did. Let's now move on to the next sentence. Who is the speaker here? Priya is the speaker. Okay. Now, so we use the same thing, Priya. And now this is not like the other sentence. Said to. Said to. Sorry, this is Riya. It is Riya. Riya said to me. Said to. Here we didn't have to whom it is spoken, but here to whom it's spoken is given. So instead of said to, we can also use told here, and we use me. Remember, when we use told, we don't use to. Okay. So Riya told me. Now again the connective. Here comes the connective. You have to use a connective here. That. Now again first person pronoun. It refers to Riya. Again female. So we'll use she. Now look at this. Will meet. Will meet. This is simple future tense. You know that. And will, what is its past form? Would. So how will you change this? The past form of will is would. Would meet. Now here you have again another pronoun. That is you. I will meet you. Who is speaking this? Riya is speaking this. To whom? To me. Right? So this you refers to me. Right? So how will you say? Riya told me that she would meet me. This refers to me. Meet me. Now tomorrow should become the next day. So how will you write here? The next day. You cannot use the same tomorrow here. The next day. Okay? Right. So you have done all the changes. Let's move on to the third one now. Joseph said, I met my friend last month. Here the speaker is Joseph. Okay? Male. Joseph said that. Again, what do we use to combine that? Said that. Now I refers to Joseph. It's a man, no? So we use he, right? He. Now met. What tense is this? Simple past tense. Simple past tense, as per the rule I told you, it can either remain the same simple past tense or it should become past perfect tense. Okay. So in case you use the same, he met. Now my friend, my becomes, what is that? That is possessive pronoun. So it should become his friend. Okay. So met his friend last night, last month. Last month is given here. Last month becomes the previous month. Okay. So here it becomes the previous month. Previous month. The previous month. I hope this is clear for you. Like this, any sentence, any statement which is given to you, you can rewrite using indirect speech, following all the rules that I have given you. I hope this is clear. Let's now move on to the second type of sentence, that is imperative sentence. You know what is meant by imperative sentences, right? That expresses request, order, command, advice. All these are imperative sentences. So in case you get imperative sentences, how do you change it? Okay, let me give you an example. The librarian said, keep quiet. I think you will also have situations like this. When you go to library, librarian would say, keep quiet, right? Okay. So here we have used the actual words of the librarian. Now in case you want to report this, how do you do? It's an instruction. So you can use, instead of using said or told, you can use instructed. The reporting verb can be instructed. Okay. So you can say the librarian instructed. Instructed whom? It's not given here, you can assume it. Okay. Instructed us. For example, instructed us. If you are writing assuming, just put it in bracket. Instructed us to keep quiet. Okay. So here we are not making use of that to combine. Unlike the statements, okay, what do we make use of? We use to infinitive form, okay, to keep quiet, okay. Similarly, you can also make a request. The beggar said, if it's a request, your sentence would be like this. The beggar said, please give me some water. Please give me some water, right? What kind of sentence is that? It's a request, right? So, how will you change this? Please give me some water. Okay, it's a request. So, the beggar, you know that it's a request. Okay. So, instead of said, what do you use? You use requested. The beggar requested. So, what is the reporting verb that you have used here? Requested. Here we use instructed. So, you have to look for the shade of meaning that the sentence gives. This is a request, so we have used requested. This sounds like an instruction, so we have used instructed. Okay. The beggar requested. Now again, the request is to whom? It's not mentioned. So let's assume it as to me. So we'll put it in bracket. Requested me to, what's the verb? Give. To give. This me refers to who is the speaker here? The beggar. So him. To give him some water. There's no change here. To give him some water. Remember, we are not using this word please in indirect speech because we have used requested here. Please means requested. So we have used it. Instead of using please, we have used requested. So we needn't use the word please again. Okay. So this is another type. This is requested. In case there's an advice. The doctor said to me, take your medicines regularly. So in that case, the doctor is advising me. So what will I say? The doctor advised me to take medicines regularly. Advise me. It's an advice. So it sounds like an advice. We use advised. Okay. So that depends on the kind of sentence given to you. Just understand the meaning, shade of meaning, and go for the appropriate reporting verb. You can use requested, inquired, then asked. You can use, here I gave you instructed, then advised, commanded, ordered. All these are different kinds of verbs that you can use in imperative sentences. So here I have covered now two kinds of sentences, that is statement form and imperative form. Okay, the other two forms I'll be dealing with in the next video. So please do keep watching. Please do practice at home and practice daily so that you will become more fluent or more thorough with this particular exercise. Okay, meet you soon with the second part. Take care. Bye bye.